ShinRobjira.
Today we're going to be talking about the NECA Godzilla 2003 from Godzilla Tokyo SOS and the NECA Godzilla 2003 Hyper Maser Blast version. Finally, we can take a look at some boxes again, huh? We've got the standard SOS Goji, and then we have the Hyper Maser Cannon Blast Goji box. And let me tell you, NECA had a very good habit of making these boxes displayable from absolutely every angle. Hell, even the back. I mean, look at all of this action. Look at all of this niceness. A little bit of the same on the opposite side. Opening them up, and look at that. Got a nice picture of SOS Goji over here, or Kiryu Goji. Still haven't looked it up. Now let's take a look at the inside of this one, and much cooler as far as I'm concerned. Got the Tokyo Tower in the back over there. Nice little skyline shot of Japan at night with Goji glowing nice and yellow over here. Very cool, very cool. Now we take a look at the figures. So up first, we have standard Sauce Goji. And for what he is, he's looking rather dapper. I believe I said this in my original review, but I do wish the scar was a little bit more visible, I think. Yeah, it wasn't super vibrant in the movie, but when you look at the movie Monster Series version, yeah, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more freshness. Taking a look at the side of the figure, the many a different dusty paint apps going on with this guy's skin is super duper nice. You know, I really like that no matter where you look, you're going to see a little bit of paint application that is really going to accentuate Goji's bumpy, spiky nature. And that, of course, only gets better once we start looking at the dorsal fins, which look fantastic. Nice and jaggedy, not too big, not too small. Really pulling it home here. And thankfully, most of the tail is going to be properly decorated with all of these dorsal fins until about this point in the tail right here, where they really aren't painted anymore, but, you know, it's okay. At least it's not a total abrupt stop like Bandai Movie Monster series is these days, right? And on the opposite side, we're gonna get a little bit more of the same. Dusty paint for the skin, a nice frosted Wheaties look for the dorsal fins. Really digging it. Really digging it. Just look at that. Very nice stuff there, NECA. Really enjoying it. And then we got the Goji toes over here with a nice dark spicy mustard yellow. Same could be said for the Goji claws, which paint and detail wise are done up very nicely. And again, that dusty looking paint application on his skin looks awesome, even as we move into the neck and then finally the head. Oh, the head. So from the front, I still do think SOS Goji looks a tiny bit goofy. I guess I wish the pupils were a little bit smaller and maybe a bit more centered, because here it kind of looks like he's looking up and not straight at you, you know? I find that to be very apparent when you're looking at the figure from a low angle like this. I don't know, maybe it's just some kind of optical illusion, but he just doesn't give off looking directly at you vibes to me. But regardless, the paint and detail on the head is rather lovely. From just about every single angle, this guy is going to look like a bumpy mess. A good kind of a mess. I mean, goddamn, just look at the top of his head. Spike Central. And then looking in the mouth, we're going to get standard NECA teeth paint, a nice glossy tongue and innard of the mouth. Looks like Goji's about to bust a nut. Yeah, I really can't get over just how much he looks like he's looking up. But ayo, for the most part, I think this guy is more than passable. Fantastic details, solid star. Fantastic paint application, solid star. It's just these friggin' eyes, man. They really just distract me, you know? And I just can't get over it. He still looks like he's looking up. Is it just me? Maybe it is just me. But I am going to tack on just a tiny little half a star for the eye placement there. Something just doesn't feel right with those eyes. Anyway, moving on to Hyper Maser Cannon Blast Yellow Custard Goji. Starting at the feet and thighs and a little bit of the knees, you can see this dark, rusty, spicy mustard brownish yellow for the toes on top of the feet, but there's a little bit of purple mixed in there as well. Different, strange, but definitely welcomed. I don't know, I like it. I think it personally adds a whole different shade to this release. Boo! But anyway, moving on to his thighs, we are starting to see the lightning crackle effect that is painted on, and it's done so with two different yellows. A much lighter yellow, and then the standard darker yellow. Another aspect that I really do enjoy about this paint job. Oh yeah, most of his underside's going to be that dark, spicy mustard brown. Interesting. But getting to the center of it all the different yellows, the darker yellows, the brighter yellows, I mean, there is just so much going on here. It is nice and busy, but I don't feel it's too busy. You can still see the outline of the scar at the center of Godzilla's chest, and all the different yellows, it really gets the point across. Moving on up into the neck, we're going to get another massive mixture of those yellows and whites. And I really like just how they layered out all of the colors here. It's messy, but to me personally, I feel it works. And we're going to get a lot more of that brighter yellow on the underside of Goji's neck and jaw over here. Rather cool. And now moving on to the side of the figure, where we'll see a little bit more of the purples and yellows present. I really like how NECA went about with this. I mean, the purple, totally wasn't expecting that at first release, but the yellow just crawling all over the sides over here, very nice. I'm glad that it wasn't just an abrupt stop. And I think mostly both sides fared pretty well. Like, even this little area under the arms is going to have more of that purple, more of that dark yellow, and more of that crackling effect. Just a really, really cool paint job, especially for those of us who really like the weird paint jobs. Yeah, I know this guy's paint job ain't for everybody, and I know some people just weren't feeling it, and that's perfectly fine, it's perfectly valid. But now let's talk about these dorsal fins, which... I love this. I think it looks great. Definitely something they carried over from the 2019 Atomic Blast figure, and I like just how weird it gets. I mean, as we all know, the way he would charge up, there would be a bit of a flickering effect going on, so NECA looked like they attempted to recreate that flickering effect. I love that, and I love how the dorsal fins sitting next to one another are getting a bit of that glow as well. Partially blue by association for the most part. This is essentially going to be the exact same as we got on the standard, it's just more so the base of the tail that had some blue, while the rest of this follows suit from the original. And just to get a better look at the underside of the tail that actually has the paint, as you can see, dark goldish mustardy brown, some purples as well, and then the rest of the tail is essentially just going to look like the other version. From the very tip all the way to right here where there's some obvious blues and yellows. Look at that. Didn't even notice that. And before I forget, we are going to get some of that darker yellow and brighter yellow kind of trailing off around Godzilla's mouth over here, and even some of that darker bluish purple over here as well. Another thing I didn't notice in my original review, I think. I mean, it is rather faint. You need to really be looking at this in order to see it, but it do be there. Unfortunately, though, there won't be anything in the mouth, and I say unfortunately just because I feel like it would have looked ridiculously cool. But more of the same, eyes still look like they're looking up. Ish, and the inside of the mouth is nice and glossy with the standard NECA teeth paint. Seriously though, this guy looks like he's looking at me, this guy looks like he's looking above me. I can't unsee it with these friggin' eyes. Oh dear me, just to correct myself, the dorsal fins are indeed painted all the way to the tip of the tail on the Hyper Maser Cannon Blast version. They do continue along a bit further on the original version, but they do stop right at the tip, so yeah. Correction on my part. My bad, you look at one NECA Godzilla figure, you think you've seen them all. Maser Blast Goji over here. He's gonna get the exact same rating that I gave the standard. Pretty much all of the same praises, save for the paint job being really wild and different, and me still can't see past those eyes looking up and not directly at me. But anyway, y'all know what's up next. It's time to crown which of these two I think is the superior 2003 Goji. You know, this was a bit of a hard decision, because I really do enjoy what the standard version does, but this guy is just so much more eye-catching from every single angle, so yeah, I guess as expected, Maser Cannon Blast 03 Goji is going to move on to the articulation round. And can I just not do the legs this time? Can I just say they're solid as shit and haven't improved over time? Can I say that I heated these things up before I recorded, and I did, and nothing? Just cut to the chase there? No? Okay. Alright, so Godzilla's mouth can open and close like so. I haven't really ever been able to get his head to move down without using the neck. So yeah, it looks like he's only going to be able to look that far down. He'll look a lot further up though, which is nice. No, it doesn't look like he's asking God to kill Peter Parker. We will get a nice side to side out of this ball joint. He's inquisitive. He wants to know stuff. You will be able to swivel all the way around up here. And now we get to the neck. The neck. The neck can go slightly forward like so and slightly back like so. And it can swivel all the way around like so, with the top of Goji's shoulders being nice and soft. And yeah, I don't know if I'm a fan of that overall. This was a pretty big talking point at the time of release of the original. Nobody thought the neck was going to be movable when the figures were first shown off, and I'm pretty sure NECA assured us they would be able to move, but that first image we saw, it just looked like one solid piece, and I don't know if I would have preferred the one solid piece or rubbernecky Goji over here. It's definitely different, and SH Monster Arts did manage to make it work rather well, but this is NECA, not SH Monster Arts, and yeah, it's a different choice for a wide neck like that. Honestly, this is probably why we never got a Godzilla 2000 figure, because he had a pretty huge neck in and of itself. And yes, this was released around the time where we didn't know what was going on with NECA. First they stated they wouldn't be doing any GVK stuff, and then all of a sudden they were just like, yeah, we're not doing Godzilla stuff anymore. The repaints of 03 and 89 will be the last releases we get, and I just chalked it up to them running out of time and them doing the bare minimum. And maybe that's exactly what happened. But I will admit the neck is for the most part. But let's move on, because there is one piece of articulation on this figure which is just lovely. Blasted Goji can move his arms up about that far before running into the neck and just not moving at all. We will have a ball joint over here, so you will be able to rotate the arms all the way around at the shoulder. You will be able to rotate at the elbow as well. Nice little bend in, nice little bend out, a swivel at the wrist, as well as a bend forward and a bend back. And we've got a nice little hinge at the palms, which will allow you to bring the fingers in like so, and out like so. Up next, we got Goji's torso, which is on a ball joint, and you will be able to bring him forward pretty far. And with the help of the neck and head joint, you can make him look down. And of course, you can swivel him all the way around. I forget, do we get a side-to-side motion? Yeah, a little bit. Nothing crazy, but a little bit. All right, I'm going to talk about the legs. I'm warning you. It's not going to be pretty. Plus, I kind of just want to get this out of the way now so I can gush about the tail. Alright, so there will be a rotation at the thigh. So far, so good. The thighs... Yep. You know what? Fuck that guy. Let's try and bend at the knee. There we go. Nice bend at the knee. Good bend at the knee. Can you give us a swivel, Mr. Bend at the knee? Yes! You can! And it went pretty smoothly. Maybe I should start taking their legs off when I do this shit. And then we're gonna get a nice swivel at the foot over here with a bit of a pivot going on. Look at that! Very nice. So the thighs will be able to spread at the waist over here pretty far, and with the help of the pivots in the ankles, you can get a nice battle stance going on with Goji. Oh yeah, he's taking that maser cannon fire like an absolute champ. And now, for my favorite part about this double release, the tail. Ball joint over here, ball joint over here, ball joint over here, ball joint over here, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then we have the final one. Now that's a lot of ball joints, but at the very tip, we get bendy wire. And I love that. All of that articulation just to be capped off with a bendy wire. Truly, you can get the tail up and out like that. Just make the S-curve a little bit more fluid. And there you go. I mean, that's great. This is the ultimate NECA Godzilla tail, I feel. And I'm not going to lie, after accidentally ripping his leg off, the leg actually moves the best it ever has. So I might make that a habit before putting him back in the box. As far as articulation goes, I'm going to give 03 Goji a solid star. Still a bit of a pain in the ass like GMK Goji, but this guy's way better than GMK Goji. Let's just leave it at that. Now we can move on to size comparisons. Still very much one of NECA's stronger releases. I mean, that hybrid tail with the segmentation and the little bit of bendy wire, fantastic. But to completely overlook some of the weird things going on with this figure, namely the neck, I don't know if I can do that anymore. All I do know is, for the most part, visually, I think these figures absolutely take the cake, save for some of those wonky looking eyes there. And I really would have liked to have seen a full-on atomic breath version of this figure without all the yellow and a breath effect piece. That really would have been cool. And going on from here, it would have been even better to see a Godzilla 2000 or a Final Wars Goji, just a little bit more Millennium era hype. But it is what it is. We got what we got, and I'm really not upset with it. I am upset that I still have to friggin' heat these things up some years later after getting them, but for the most part, when it comes to Kiryu Goji or Sauce Goji representation, I'm happy with these things. I like my Movie Monster series figures a lot more, but articulation-wise, yeah, these guys absolutely do take the cake. I believe at the time of release, this was my very first Kiryu Goji figure. I might have had the Movie Monster series one, might not have done a video on it at that time, but I was in no way let down by these like I was with GMK. And that tail articulation still friggin' impresses, man. A proper swan song for NECA. I think they really put their all into these, save for the neck, which... friggin' neck. Anyway, though, I have been ShinRobjira. I do so hope you all enjoyed this episode of NECAthon. And when next we meet with NECAthon, we have ourselves another triple review where I'll be taking a look at the V1 2014 figure, as well as the V2 and the V3. Or possibly the V3 and V4. There was so many different versions of that Godzilla 2014 figure, I have no idea what the middle figure is. Could be a V4 or 5. Who knows? The paint jobs changed so much. Have yourselves a lovely day, afternoon, night, weekend, weekday, the whole 9 yards, and I'll see you next time. Peace.